When we picture the American GI of World War II, we see a symbol of American resilience, clean-cut, disciplined, and ready for anything. But behind the propaganda posters and the Hollywood gloss lies a far grittier reality. The daily, unglamorous battle against filth, disease, and the pervasive lack of basic sanitation. For many frontline soldiers, the simple act of a hot shower became an unreachable luxury for 6 months, sometimes more. This is the untold story of hygiene on the front line. Before shipping out, GIs were drilled in impeccable grooming. Spit-shine boots, crisp uniforms, and daily shaves were non-negotiable in training camps across America. Discipline was measured by the cleanliness of a man's quarters and his appearance. But the moment they stepped off the transport ships in Europe, North Africa, or the Pacific, that strict regimen was instantly forgotten. The brutal calculus of combat shifted the priority from cleanliness to immediate survival. You can't polish boots in a shell hole. The concept of personal hygiene changed from a military requirement to a survival tactic. Imagine spending weeks, then months, in the same woolly uniform, a garment that absorbed every drop of rain, every scoop of mud, and every bead of sweat. Water, when available, was a precious commodity, strictly prioritized for drinking, then cooking, and only then, if rations allowed, for a quick, cold, and often futile rinse. Frontline soldiers were perpetually covered in a cocktail of mud, oil, dust, and their own bodily waste. This constant state of grime was not just uncomfortable. It was the foundation of the other, hidden enemy, disease. The lack of proper foot care in the cold, wet conditions of Northern Europe led to a notorious and crippling affliction, trench foot. This was not a minor inconvenience. It was a constant, terrifying threat. Feet, perpetually soaked for days in icy, muddy boots, would swell, turn blue, and become agonizingly painful. If left untreated for too long, the condition would lead to gangrene, requiring amputation. The phrase, "keep your socks dry," was a matter of life and limb, yet often impossible. Medics constantly battled this condition, recognizing that a man with immobilized feet was as good as dead in a firefight. A far more common, yet deeply humiliating, enemy was body lice. These tiny parasites thrived in the wool uniforms and unsanitary conditions. They caused incessant, maddening itching and were carriers for diseases like trench fever. Soldiers had a grim routine they called reading their shirts, which involved meticulously picking out lice and nits from the seams of their clothing. They often used the heat of a cigarette or a helmet over a fire to burn them out, a desperate ritual of self-cleaning. Beyond the visible threats, poor field sanitation meant that dysentery and other intestinal ailments spread rapidly through the ranks. Contaminated water and food, often prepared near latrine trenches, led to chronic, debilitating illnesses. Skin conditions like scabies and ringworm were widespread, compounding the misery. These non-combat injuries were so prevalent they sometimes knocked more men out of action than enemy bullets, highlighting the brutal efficiency of poor hygiene as a weapon. Amidst the chaos, some men clung to small, desperate rituals to maintain a semblance of normalcy and dignity. Shaving, though often painful and done with meager tools, was perhaps the most crucial. A small, cracked mirror propped on a helmet, a tin of cold, lukewarm water, and a dull razor were the tools of this personal battle. It was a brief, conscious act of reclaiming humanity, a small reminder of the civilian world they had left behind, even if the results were far from perfect. True bathing was impossible, so GIs became masters of the canteen wash. This involved rationing a tiny amount of water from their flask to quickly wipe down their face and hands. They would use whatever soap was available, often just laundry soap, or resort to improvising with kerosene or petrol to cut through the grease. Every drop was precious, every attempt to clean a fleeting moment of relief. It was a constant negotiation between the need for hydration and the need for cleanliness. The most valuable item a soldier could receive in a care package was often not candy or cigarettes, but a fresh pair of wool socks. The ritual of changing socks, even if they had to share the clean pair with a buddy or dry the old ones under their shirt, was paramount. Soldiers were ordered to change socks daily, an impossible command, but one that drove home the importance of this small piece of clothing in preventing catastrophic foot loss. The U.S. Army knew hygiene was crucial to morale and fighting strength, leading to the creation of specialized logistical support. Mobile bath and laundry units, often mounted on trucks, were sent to rear areas. For the lucky companies that rotated off the line, encountering one of these units was like winning the lottery. A proper hot shower, even if it lasted only 90 seconds, followed by freshly steamed and deloused clothes, was a powerful, almost religious experience. These units were true lifelines. When the official units couldn't reach them, GIs became ingenious engineers. Improvised showers were a common sight in quiet sectors. A perforated metal drum or bucket hung from a tree, heated by a small fire underneath, providing a trickle of blessed hot water. Laundering was done in helmets, using gasoline or harsh soap. The clothes then hung to dry on improvised lines or draped over the exhaust pipes of tanks and jeeps for quick drying. Civilian organizations played a vital role. The Red Cross often helped establish small, semi-permanent bathhouses in secured towns and staging areas. The USO, United Service Organizations, focused on morale, which indirectly tied into hygiene. Clean places to rest and be entertained, even briefly, provided the mental space necessary to care for oneself. They offered small comfort kits containing razor blades, soap, and toothbrushes, small items that made an immense difference. The constant filth took a heavy psychological toll. It was deeply dehumanizing, eroding the sense of self-worth and morale. Being perpetually dirty, smelly, and infested was a constant, tangible reminder of the primitive, brutal existence they were forced to endure. It fed into the stress and anxiety of combat, making the soldiers feel less like men and more like animals struggling in the dirt. Letters from home were not just about news. They were psychological anchors, often filled with descriptions of warm beds, clean meals, and the simple comforts of modern life. They served as both a comfort and a painful reminder of what they were fighting to return to. These letters reinforced the idea of a clean world, a stark contrast to the mud and blood of the battlefield. Yet, through it all, the American G.I. persevered. They adapted with incredible resilience. The absence of basic hygiene became just another challenge to overcome. They found dark humor and camaraderie in their shared suffering, joking about the smell of their feet or the density of their lice population. This ability to adapt and find strength in shared misery is a core part of the GI legacy. The return home brought its own strange adjustments. For many veterans, the sensory experience of a hot bath, a perfectly clean bed, or freshly starched clothes was something they never took for granted again. Simple civilian acts, like turning on a faucet for limitless hot water, held a profound significance, marking the boundary between the war and peace they had fought so hard to secure. The scars of the front were not just physical or psychological. They were also a deep-seated appreciation for cleanliness. The story of GI hygiene isn't just about dirt and discomfort. It's about the relentless physical and mental toll exacted by conditions almost as deadly as the enemy. It is a testament to the incredible human endurance required to maintain dignity, sanity, and the ability to fight effectively in the face of unimaginable hardship. It's a key detail often overlooked, but vital to understanding the true cost of victory. The GI was not always clean, but he was always fighting. His enduring spirit became the foundation of the post-war world. Thank you for joining us for this look at the unglamorous reality of the American soldier. If you found this glimpse into the GI's life insightful, please like, share, and subscribe for more untold stories of history. We'll see you next time.